What is up? Well, that's good, fam. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you're having a great week, but per usual, it is about to get literally so much better because we have one of my favorite people, not only on the podcast, but in the house today in her home state. We have DawnCheré, and we're going to be talking about slow burn. DC, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be in Louisiana.
I know.
My heart is full to be with you in the state we love.
In the state we love. You know, it's so funny because sometimes whenever I throw out to people, it would be so much better if we did an in-person podcast, but then I'm like, sorry, you have to come all the way to Monroe, Louisiana. But for you, I'm always like, she can be with her family.
It's the best thing ever. Yeah, I woke up this morning with my mom and dad, had a cup of coffee.
It's the best.
Got to drive over and be with you.
That is the best. And you brought all the kids.
I brought them all.
Which
yeah.
I'm really impressed that you did that for kids.
Well, they're with their cousins.
Yeah,
so there's
true.
21 grandkids on my side of the family.
Wow.
We love Louisiana.
That's awesome. Same. Well, I am so glad you're here. And this book, I just said this in the prayer, but I really sincerely mean this. I told Christian, he's like, are you excited for DC to be here? I'm like, I'm so excited for DC to be here. But I was like, but genuinely, I've been listening to your messages. I listened to you at Elevation Church this morning. I listened to a different podcast you did. I've read so much of the different chapters and outlines of your book that I'm like, I just pray I do this message justice because there's so much here that I want to ask you about, that I want to pull out of you. But I will say, how could we ever do it justice in just 45, 50 minutes? So this is my call out to everyone. If you have not bought the book Slow Burn, now is the time to do it because we'll never be able to even scratch the full surface of the message God's put on your heart and the things you're going to share.
I think that's really the message of Slow Burn is that it's just one day at a time. Mm-hmm. And we all feel that pressure of, God, do everything in me right here, right now.
That's
but it's
so
like
true.
One day at a time, moment by moment, hour by hour, we're invited to this surrender and we get to know more about him as we walk together. And so I'm grateful to have this conversation today. I'm believing it's going to speak to people right where they are in this moment.
So true. I agree. I believe it's going to be very timely. I was listening to your Elevation, like I said, and it was so funny how you kickstarted the whole thing by reading some of your journal from your college years, which I have to bring this up because there are so many college students listening to this podcast. Yeah. Please tell us what DC at 20 years old was dreaming about for a summer.
Yeah, this is not in the book. This was a journal that I found literally like 3 months ago on Rich's 41st birthday. And I ran back in the house because I was like, I think I have a journal from your birthday 20 years ago. And we were laughing because we were in Cambridge studying at university together in England. And at the end of the journal, it's like I'm headed into my Louisiana summer, right? Best summers. And I had 18 things that I wanted to accomplish in one summer. Record a worship album, read the entire Bible, learn Spanish, put on a concert for our family with love songs my parents had written, get braces that, without brackets, like get my arms defined. The list was ridiculous.
It was awesome. There's something about being a goddess too.
Yes, yeah, to be a domestic
I really
goddess.
like that one.
That was a super popular book. And I'm like, everyone's like, what does that even mean now?
That is so funny.
I really had high hopes for the summer. And I think 20 years later, looking back, I'm like, some of these things on this list I'm just now stepping into. I don't know if you've been like that in your life, like where you put such pressure on one season.
Oh my gosh.
When all of life is waiting for the purpose of God to unfold.
Totally. You know, it's so crazy. Just listening to that this morning, it was speaking to me right where I was at. And I was listening to something else that you and a friend were talking about, something Joyce Meyer said about how sometimes God gives you like a puzzle where you see the picture of the puzzle and you like have this idea of what you think life is going to be because God gave you a vision. Yeah. But then when you get the puzzle, it's in a million different pieces. So you don't actually end up seeing the picture you saw in the first place for years and years and years later. And a lot of times it doesn't even look like the picture you thought, but it's even better, or it's different in whatever ways. And I could just relate. That was speaking to me right where I'm at because some things that are happening now in life are things that I had on the vision board for a long time ago. And it's so different and in different ways than I would have even thought. But isn't it so nice when the Lord builds the house,
Yes.
It's such a blessing. But I just love that and how you were talking about how it's like, that was not something to accomplish in the a summer. That was something to accomplish in a decade.
No,
like that was going to take some time. And I just wanted to call that out because, like I said, so many college students listening to this podcast, so many people with some big dreams and some big goals who probably find themselves disappointed in God, thinking, where are you on the other end of that, you know? But
yeah,
it takes time.
Especially in the college season, you're studying for a degree, but studying for something is different from experiencing it in life, in reality. And so living the dream is different than dreaming it.
Love that.
You can have a dream, but when you actually start living it out, it's in 3D. It's not a highlight reel. It's not, even you think about Joseph in the Bible, you know, he sees his family bowing down and he has this image and he's a teenager at the time. Fast forward, he's sold into slavery. He's abandoned by his brothers. He's thrown into jail. And then miraculously, he's vindicated and put second in command in Egypt. And now his brothers come before him. And what a crazy fulfillment of a dream. To live it, the dream, he has to forgive his brothers who betrayed him. He had to go through years of sacrifice and pain and torment. And so I think in all of our lives, like, to actually live the dream, it looks so different. And if we don't know that, if we think that the dream that we dream is going to look just like living it, we'll give up on the purpose of God. We'll go find another path. But to live it in the slow burn, year by year, day by day, and trust God, God will sustain us if we'll turn to him again and again. He'll give us the ability to forgive, just like he gave Joseph. He'll give us the wisdom that we need to get through seasons that seem impossible. And that's really what slow burn is about that steady trust, not one big moment in life that is what we're living for, but no, this moment right here in the car, at work, God's here.
It's great. I love it. I can't wait to dive into more of that and the concept of slow burn. So I want to hear a little bit about your story because I love that you share so openly. And even like one of the things I heard you say is that you were actually like preaching this message really in the slow burn. Like you started preaching this message in your own waiting. And I love how you say it's not season, it's living. So I'm hesitant to say waiting season.
No, it's both.
But speak to your story a little bit so our listeners can understand kind of where you're coming from and where this message was really birthed from.
Yeah, so slow burn is just referring to waiting. And I went through 8 years of infertility where we were asking God to give us a child. I have 4 kids now. God sent more than I could ever dream. But I've also gone through other waiting seasons. So moving to Miami, not knowing anyone, 18 years ago, planting a church in Miami 10 years ago. We celebrate 10 years this year.
Wow.
And just trusting God, meeting all over the city, going, God, we don't know how you're going to establish this house. We just know that you've called us to it. But in a particular season, which was the 8 years of infertility, I really felt like those 8 years were instrumental for my life, that I found who God was. I found who I am in him. And he peeled off all sorts of layers of insecurity off of me, of fear, of just lies from the enemy. And so in those 8 years is where I came to the revelation that, you know, waiting is not a season, waiting is life. And the invitation we all have is, will you live in the wait? Will you actually live in the wait? And so the wait is the slow burn. And yeah, I had that title over a decade ago.
It's wild.
But it was written in the wait.
Yeah. It's so cool because I was listening to you and Holly Furtick's conversation and she was talking about seeing you preach this message of slow burn. And I love how she was saying she had this expectation that at the end of the sermon you were going to say, and here's my baby, or and I'm pregnant. And you didn't. And now it's so cool because you're like, I have 4 kids and it is just such a beautiful story what God has done. But talk to me a little bit about like starting to preach this even when you were in it, because I do think a lot of people try to wait until they're out of the waiting to talk about the waiting. But what was your decision to share in the midst of it?
Well, I decided to share about probably 5 or 6 years into the wait. I had a prophetic word. Someone had prayed with me at church years before while I was walking through infertility and said, you're going to travel the world preaching the gospel with a baby in one hand, a Bible in the other. I didn't really know what to do with that word. I don't live my life taking words that other people speak to me and making decisions based off of it. I read God's word, I pray, and when words are given to me, I hold them in my heart. I think they're important, but the role that they've played in my life has often been confirmation in hindsight, that I know that when it happens, it's God.
That's cool.
And so I thought, I'm going to be able to walk up on the stage and share that I'm pregnant, because I had been going to the doctor for years. I really thought that this year was the year we were going to be able to have a baby. And I was being invited to the very conference where I'd received that word as I was in the room. But, the doctor's appointments came and they went, and I wasn't pregnant when I was getting on that flight to go speak at that conference. And I really felt like impressed on my heart that God wanted me to share my story. And I was like, God, I'm not sharing. I've carried this. I've walked privately. It's a very intimate journey. I will share when I have the baby. That's the testimony. And I really felt clearly that impression that no, that's not the testimony. The testimony is that you're living right here, right now in the slow burn. I've been faithful to you. I've woken you up every morning with purpose. And so I wrestled. You know what that wrestle is like, when God's asking for obedience, and God will meet you in the wrestle. He wants to have an authentic relationship with you, and he wants to reveal himself in that wrestle. But I decided to trust him. And so, the message that Holly's talking about is when I got up and said, I don't have the baby yet, but I can tell you about the treasure I do have. It's the one that never changes. And he's remained the same to me. He is the treasure. It's interesting, right, with our stories, like our testimonies. A lot of people think that to have a good testimony, they need to have some big thing that they went through, or they need to, have the child, have the win, be on the mountaintop. I don't think that's the testimonies we see in Scripture.
It's true.
I think we see that all of us actually have the same testimony. Because the thing isn't the testimony. God's faithfulness is. He's the prize. He's everything.
Okay, mamas, I'm always thinking about safety when it comes to my kids, and I know you are too. And now with 2 little ones and another baby on the way, I'm already thinking ahead of those sleepless nights with a newborn and how important peace of mind is going to be. And that's why I'm so thankful that we found the Harbor Baby Monitor. It is hands down the best one we've ever used, and we've tried a lot. Harbor monitors work with or without Wi-Fi, featuring end-to-end encryption and fail-safe alerts, which mean that I never have to worry about losing connection in the middle of the night. It's straight up reliable, and that really matters. Plus, I can connect up to 4 cameras, which is perfect for keeping eyes on every room. And the 10-inch monitor is big enough to see it all clearly. The night vision is amazing. The HD video is crystal clear, and the sound is real time. It's seriously like I'm in there with them. When we first got it, I went back in the room to make sure the lights were off because it was so, I could see it so well. I thought I must have left the light on. And so whenever I'm out of the house, the Harbor app lets me check in anytime, anywhere I want. And it's like they read every mom's group chat and they say, "We got you, fam." Y'all, it really is amazing. And I have to just say the company's great too. Recently our car got broken into and they stole our Harbor monitor, and Christian called the Harbor place and was asking them. He was like, "Hey, is there any way there's a tracking device?" Because we were trying to find our stuff, and they were so kind and felt so bad that our stuff got stolen, and they actually sent us another one. They overnighted it so we could have it the very next day. So it's just really cool. They really do have your back as a parent, and I thought that was a really cool testimony to speak to who they are as a company. So restore your peace of mind with Harbor. Go to harbor.co/Sadie and use the code Sadie for $50 off. That's harbor.co/Sadie. Use the code Sadie to get $50 off the Harbor Baby Monitor. And it's so crazy too, because I think you think you need that part of the story because that would be the part that would show other people that God is faithful. You think that's going to be the part that people are going to go, whoa, and they remember. But actually, it's so cool that the thing that struck Holly, that stuck out to her, and this was before she even knew you, and she remembered it so clearly, was that you were someone standing there not holding the baby yet and also saying God is faithful and God is good and he is a testimony. And so a testimony that has the miracle, or a testimony that the miracle is that God is with you, is just as miraculous and incredible, and makes it increases the faith of others. It increases the faith of others when you say, I don't have this yet, but yeah, I'm sustained by the goodness of God. Not just increasing the faith of others by saying, God will do it for you too,
Yes.
And it's so cool that, you had that in that season, and now you do have the miracles to say. Yes. I have 4 kids now, and it's so cool. This is kind of a side sermon moment because it's not necessarily to slow burn, but I was listening to your podcast one day, and you were talking about Wolfgang being like the shock of your life because y'all weren't really expecting necessarily a 4th baby at 40, right?
Yes, at 40.
40. And you were talking about how like your cup overflows and how that can be like messy sometimes. Can you speak to it? Like, was that a weird thing for you to experience, like desiring a baby for 8 years and then finally getting, and then now being like surprised by a baby and like the opposite, not like struggles, but just like the shock factor, like what you went through with that?
Yeah. So we had 3 kids over the last 7 years. And then I thought we were done. And I was turning 40, and I got the surprise of my life. And I got it kind of late. I found out I was pregnant when I was like 7 or 8 weeks.
Really?
And
because you were just not expecting it.
I just wasn't expecting it. And even when I had the thought cross my mind, I was like, there's no way, because I hadn't been going to an infertility specialist. I hadn't been working and I had never taken a positive pregnancy test at home.
Wow.
In 18 years of marriage. And so when I finally did it, it was disbelief, awe, wonder. Wow. I went to the doctor and heard his heartbeat, and then I went home and told Rich that night, because I didn't even want to, when you walked 8 years infertility, I didn't even want to get him all involved without going, we are pregnant. This is happening. So I got to tell him. But in the same breath that I felt this awe and wonder of, God, you are such a miracle worker. I can't believe you've done this. Thank you. There was also this immediate rush of, how am I going to do this? Like I'm turning 40. I thought we were past this season. God, I'm so grateful for the babies you've given me, and I'm so grateful for this one. I'm not going to complain 1 second, but Lord, I feel out of my depths. It was a wrestle, because you almost feel guilty even expressing that to God, because children are the greatest blessing. But the scripture that somehow just rose to the top of my heart in that moment was just the passage where David says, my cup overflows. And I had this picture that when I pour water into my kids' glasses every night at dinner, if it overflows, you call that a mess. And for the first time in my life, I felt like, wow, God, your blessings have overflowed to a point where it feels messy. It feels out of my capacity. And so it is, because it wouldn't be a miracle if it was within my capacity. If I could manage it, then I could create it. But this is a miracle we're talking about. And it's just a faith journey. The slow burn is a day-to-day, God, I've never been in control. And I never will be. And even if you do have a testimony on the mountaintop, you can't stay on the mountaintop for the rest of your life. All of life is the middle. All of life is, God, you are in control. Even in the moments that are the moments that are inconceivable, you're still in a place of awe and wonder of, God, okay, you started this. I need you to finish it.
So true. It's so true. I love how you shared that. And I think that ultimately is what it comes to, is like God is in control of our stories and we're not. And sometimes it's waiting for something you really desire, and sometimes it's being shocked by something you didn't expect. And yeah, I love that in both scenarios of your life, you found comfort in the word, and you found comfort in literally like scripture after scripture. You talk so much about they that wait on the Lord will renew their strength. And then you're talking about my cup overflows. Like you just keep going to scripture. And I love how you say like so much of life is in the middle. Our pastor actually preached a sermon last week on the mountaintops and the valleys. And he was really talking about like sometimes you're on the mountaintop, sometimes you're on the valley. And I was sitting there, I was like, I don't really feel like I'm on the mountaintop. I don't really feel like I'm in the valley. I feel like I'm on like the journey, in between. And I feel like that's actually like a lot of life. There are some times where you really feel like you are truly in the valley. And there are sometimes you really acknowledge I'm on the mountain, but most of the time you're kind of somewhere in between, you know? And I heard you talking about this verse, and it's one of my favorite verses. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And you were talking about making sure that in your heart and in your life, like his word is the lamp unto your feet, light unto your path, and not your idea of like what you want things to happen to be like the thing that's guiding your path. And I love how you just broke that down in that with those things. Back to kind of you telling your story publicly. I know before you shared it publicly, there was also a moment where you had to begin to share it privately with friends. You even talk about like the waiting room analogy in your book, and it being a lot better when you have conversation with people. But it's really hard to open up to the first person. Can you talk a little bit about when you started to share with someone what you were waiting on? Because I know that kind of took a long time in your own story.
Yes, it took me a year to share with my parents that I was visiting infertility doctors, trying to get answers, had unsuccessful attempts to have a baby. And I really felt like I wanted to surprise them. I didn't want to bring another thing. Not that it would have been a burden to my parents. I just felt like I can handle this until I knew that I couldn't, you know? Yeah. And community is so key for every season of our life. We all need the right voices in our life. And God speaks to us through his word. He speaks to us through the power of his spirit, but he also speaks to us by the people that we surround ourselves with. And so it's not just don't isolate, find yourself in community. It's you need to find yourself in the right community, not a perfect community, but you need a couple people around you, whether it's your parents or a pastor or someone in your small group or a friendship or an aunt or an uncle. You need just a handful of people that you can trust, but that you also respect and that they have wisdom to share with you. And having the right community in my life through those 8 years of infertility made all the difference for me. I mean, conversation after conversation, my view of the slow burn was fully reshaped. I had a brand new frame. When I came to my dad and I said, I want to tell you guys what's going on. I'm walking through infertility. It's been a year. My parents looked at me. They said, DawnCheré, this is not about you just having a baby. This is about an eternal soul. Coming into history. God knows when this eternal soul needs to come into history. You can trust him. Like talk about a frame, you know? And that's what wisdom does. It zooms out. You're looking at the thing, thinking that that's the center of your world. And all of a sudden you have the right voice comes in and you see it in a completely different light.
Great. That is so good. I love that so much. One of the things that you say in your book, I was like, this is really good advice, is that venting is not really helpful. And I was like, okay, speak to us about that, because that is a part of the waiting. It feels like you just start venting, and I love how you share. It's like, it doesn't make me feel good after I do it, and that is so true. I've experienced that so many times where you start sharing with someone and then you just kind of start oversharing, but you can't stop yourself, and then later you're like, yeah, I probably should. Like, it didn't help.
No, it doesn't help. And every time that I've found myself over speaking, where my words just actually maybe the emotion in my heart takes control of my tongue, you know, and the anger starts to come out, or the frustration starts to come out, or the complaining. And it's like, wow, I didn't plan to share that much. It's a vulnerable place to be because you have spoken too much. And it's crazy that they've studied venting, and it does not bring any renewal. It doesn't bring any actual refreshing. There's nothing good about it. Yeah, you need to be honest, because the question that comes immediately is, well, how do you process then? You process with the people that you trust.
It's true.
You don't want to be a broken record, repeating the same story to every person who will listen. That's not helping you. That's not helping them. That's like a false authenticity.
It's true.
But you want to speak to the people that you trust, not just so you can vent, but so they can help you.
Yeah, that's
reframe,
so good.
Right? You want to see things differently once you spoke to someone about what you're going through.
That's so true. Because I think there is a place where you want to just sharing someone needs to listen. But a lot of times you need to share so that you can listen to what those voices are going to put back into your life. And venting is a lot more you speaking than listening, and sharing is a little bit more, I'm going to share, and then I actually need to hear what you have to say, because my perspective is coming from my pain, or it's coming from where I'm at. But you can maybe speak to me from the place of wisdom you're at, or the overflow, or where you've been, and so like taking those moments to listen. Y'all, let's be real. Every marriage has its challenges, and one of the biggest challenges in today's world is the constant flood of content we see online. Even with the best intentions, it's really easy to get caught up in stuff that slowly chips away at trust in a relationship. But y'all, the good news is you don't have to deal with that alone. Covenant Eyes gives you tools to build guardrails around your marriage, not walls. It's not about hiding stuff. It's about healing and staying close. Their Victory software tracks screen activity and shares it with your chosen accountability partner, creating this beautiful culture of openness and growth. And that matters, because marriage isn't just about us. It's actually a reflection of God's love, faithful, pure, and full of grace. I've seen what accountability can do for couples in my own life. It brings healing, it brings connection, and it reminds you that grace is real and powerful. And Covenant Eyes is all about making that happen for every couple. I'm super thankful for just the relationship Christian and I have built, just an open relationship, talking about stuff that is hard. I feel like at first you really fear saying some of those things that feel so personal, or confessing those things, but the Bible says, confess your sins to one another and you will be healed. And so, friends, this is not about shame or guilt. This is about healing. And so I hope you lean into this. If you're married, engaged, or even just dreaming about the future, I can't recommend Covenant Eyes enough. Go to covenanteyes.com/Sadie to learn more and start your journey towards a healthier, stronger marriage today. That's covenanteyes.com/Sadie. We've talked about this on the podcast. My sister has been walking through infertility, and that has been really, really a hard journey. And one of the things that Bella and I talked about on the podcast, and this was when we had this podcast, like everything was going really good. And we talked about this, like when we come do this conversation, it's going to be messy. We're going to cry. And we were doing so good until I brought up one of the hardest aspects was whenever I had to tell her I was pregnant, with Haven, whenever I knew how much she was longing for in her own life. And I was telling her I was pregnant, and it was an exciting thing, but it was also such a hard thing, and I didn't know the words to say, and there was just messiness there. But then it was, in some ways even harder to then find out I was pregnant again, because I'm like, it kind of marked how much time had gone by, and it also made it really, I just felt like as soon as I found out I was pregnant, the first thing I thought about was like, I wish Bella was pregnant, So it's just that hard thing of walking through something with your sister, who is your best friend, who you long for her. And then I don't know what her perspective was. And we just had such a great conversation on this podcast. We cried, and we took time, and we stopped recording and started back, and all the things, because it's just a hard thing. But the reality is, when you are waiting for something, other people in your life oftentimes get the thing that you're waiting for. Yes. And I know you speak to that a lot. You talk about that in the book. How did you gain wisdom in that as you walk through other people getting the miracles that you were praying for?
Well, I think it's an invitation to know more of the kindness of God. If we can view it that way. It never looks that way to any of us on first glance. But when you enter into a wrestle with God, you're gonna experience a depth of His grace that you didn't know before. And so when I had been trying to have kids, and then my sister let me know that she was pregnant, it was an opportunity for me to open up my heart to God and go, God, I don't even know how to respond right now, but I know that I want to celebrate others. I don't want to be so focused on myself that I miss out on the joy of what you're doing, the miracle, because you gave her a child, and that's a miracle also. You're doing something new in her home. And I had to face that fear and insecurity, and and pain, that deep desire, head on and go, okay, Lord, I'm not going to shrink back from this. There's not going to be topics in my life with my family and the people that know me best that are off limits. There's not going to be like this silence. There's not going to be, don't talk to me about this. I want to celebrate. I want to help throw the shower. I want to be right there. And it's amazing when we step through our fear, how much freedom we experience. I've dealt with fear in so many different areas of my life. So this was just another way that it reared its head up in my life. And I know that when I'm aggressive and face the fear head on and let it know it doesn't have any power over me, that I immediately am able to step into freedom.
That's great.
And holding babies during those 8 years of infertility were part of the greatest joy of the journey.
Yeah.
Celebrating my other friends. Because down deep, I had a very real belief that God had the best plan, that He was in control. And so that picture is not just for people walking through infertility. That's for people when your best friend gets the job. That's for people when, you know, your husband gets the recognition or your spouse or your people can create competition in their marriages, which is crazy. Like we're together. We're in this. Don't compare.
So true.
Comparison is so empty. Like it's so empty. But you also have to be authentic with God. And so I brought all of that to Him, and I was assured that He was in control, and He'll do it for every single person in their way also.
It's so cool because I have seen her do that, and it's been so beautiful. Like, she's the best aunt in the whole world. Like, my kids love Bella. Honey always wants to spend the night with Beba and Jake, and they've just done
the greatest
so
gift.
Beautiful. They have thrown the showers and been just the absolute greatest. And Bella's like the same way. And even a friend of mine who's walked through just being single and seeing all of, because we were all 4 roommates and 3 of us have gotten married and now have families, and she's still single. And she's like, I just had to realize that this is not a season. This is my life. Kind of what you're saying. She's like, so I don't want to like waste these years, you know? And that's what I love you talking about so much in this book. Like, don't waste that waiting. Like, there's something in there for you. And I love when you talk about, there's a chapter about like making space, you know, for God. And like, can you speak a little bit to that and like getting rid of the empty things and stuff?
Yeah. I bought a baby crib like a few months into my infertility journey, thinking that I was going to be pregnant that year, and it ended up taking 8 years. So by the time I had my first son, Wyatt, 7 years ago, I'm like, I don't even want this thing anymore. I had moved it from house to house, and it was just a revelation from my heart, a reminder that like, I don't want to accumulate things for future seasons other than the wisdom and the strength of God.
Good. Yeah.
I want Him to establish what He wants inside of me here and now, and trust that He will provide what I need in the next season of life. Because we can be so focused on the next that we miss the now.
That's so true.
God, what are you doing now? If my hands are full of everything that I need for the next season, how can I receive what I actually desperately need right here and right now? And so we can be so focused on, I'm stepping into this. Well, you haven't yet. So where are your feet planted right now? And what does God want to do in and through you right now? Who are you? If your eyes are always on yourself, you can't see others. And so often our purpose is linked to others, speaking life, encouraging, having insight, discernment, walking together. And so I think even now with 4 babies, a 6-month-old, I'm like, I got to keep making space.
Yeah.
We don't want to be hoarders. We want to have simplicity is powerful because you're actually able to see clearly what you have. If you're just gathering extra stuff,
it's really, really
you're
good.
not actually able to see what you really need.
It's really, really good. I love what you're saying, and it's so applicable to my life right now because we've had this room in our house. It's the one room that has just not been done.
It could be a drawer.
I know, and this was a whole room. It was not, unfortunately, a drawer. And I would always be like, oh, I want that room because it was going to be like my home office. And then I'd always thought, because it's, you know, on our, like, we're close to our bedroom, that maybe when we have our next baby, I would like put the crib in there, and it just made sense and blah, blah. But it is a mess. Like, nope, let me rephrase. It was a mess because let me tell you, DC, I made some space. So But it took me so much time. Like, it literally took me so much time, hours of going through, because it was a bunch of like papers and random boxes I had never opened and stuff that we moved from the house, our last house, that was just kind of like the random, doesn't really go anywhere. What am I going to do with? So it took me hours. And so then last week I was like, okay, before this new show starts for our family, which I don't know when this episode will come out, but it was the week of the show starting. I was like, I just want it to be done before that starts. Because in your mind, like when you're getting ready for the next season, you're like, I want to be done with this, and that room for me was like, I need this to be done. And so one day last week, I was like, today's the day. And I went through everything, moved everything, went to the store, bought a rug, came back with the rug, bought a chair, like everything, like I got it done. And it was so crazy. It's like my back was so sore the next day. I could hardly walk. I was like, that was a lot of work. But then this morning was my first morning to go in there and have my quiet time.
No way.
And it was so peaceful. And I drank my matcha and I read my Bible and I listened to your sermon. And I was so grateful for the space. I was like, man, I'm so grateful for the space. And so it's so cool what you're saying, because I just experienced that. Like, making space is hard. You have to let go of some things. I had to throw away a lot of things that were like, I could have kept and held on to. But I was like, I really don't need this. Like, why do I need this? I had to give away a lot of things that just didn't need to be in that house or in that space. But then today, seeing what I have, being like the most peaceful room in our house now. I actually just texted yesterday the lady who helped us do our house. I was like, can we get the drapes that you chose for our bedroom for in here? Because I'm going to put the baby in here. Like, it was just so fun to dream, because now the space is ready for the future. It's ready for the now and the future. So what a great word, DC, for everyone in the spiritual and in the natural, because I've just lived that out this week, and I'm super grateful for that.
It feels so good. I did the same thing a week before my fourth son was born 6 months ago. We didn't have a room for him, and we looked in this it was like a little storage room, and we were like, you know what? I think this is the nursery. And in a week, we got in there, we ripped shelves out, we reorganized, and I had so much more space than I thought.
Isn't that weird? You have so much more space than you think. Yes.
That's a whole message.
That is so true. Room. I mean, I was actually trying to get this rug, and the lady was like, are you sure that feels small? I was like, no, I think that's the right thing. She's like, no, I think you need this size. I was like, really? I don't think I have that much room in there. So then I get the bigger size rug, and it still looks small in there, because in my mind, I didn't have that much space because it had been so cluttered. When I got all the clutter out, I was like, whoa, I can put like a big rug in here. So that is so true. That is such a good word. Man, this is a blessing. This is so good. Come on, girl. We made that space.
We made that space.
I love it so much. Okay, vacations might be winding down, but let's be real. The busy summer season is still in full swing. We've got to prep to go back to school, sports, festivals, and still plenty of hot days ahead. So don't slack on your hydration, fam. LMNT's lemonade salt flavor has been my absolute fave flavor lately. It is salty, it is tart, and it is so refreshing, like summer in a glass. You can try mixing it into your water, stirring it into a big glass of iced tea, or making a pitcher with fresh fruit for a refreshing treat that still gets the job done. And I am obsessed with how easy it is to crush my hydration goals by tossing a couple packs into my purse so I'm covered wherever our summer adventures lead us. You want to know the best part? That the electrolyte ratio is science-backed for optimal hydration. You're getting all the good stuff your body craves and none of the sugar or shady ingredients in other electrolyte drinks. Plus, if you try LMNT and it's not your thing, no worries at all. Just pass it along to a salty friend and you can actually get your money back, no questions asked. Y'all, I love LMNT. I am the biggest fan. I drink LMNT every single day, and I have noticed such a difference in my leg cramps, because that is what happens to me. If I'm not hydrated, I get leg cramps, headaches, all the things. And whenever I stay drinking my LMNT, I stay super hydrated, feeling great. But plus, I honestly just love the flavors. Lemonade salt is available for a limited time only, so get yours while supplies last. Get your free LMNT sample pack with any purchase at drinklmnt.com/whoa. Again, that's drinklmnt, DRINKLMNT.com/whoa. One of the things I want to talk to you about, because we bond over this, is our love for Louisiana bonfires.
Let's go.
That's why when you said October, I was like, yep, Louisiana in October is special. The weather's great. Perfect. The bonfire, I love your bonfire analogy. Can you speak a little bit about the bonfires versus kind of the smoke and the life?
Well, it's so funny because in Miami, I have to explain what bonfire culture is, because we're not allowed to have bonfires as a social event in Miami.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was such a Louisiana thing until whenever I lived in LA. Like, this was just for Dancing with the Stars, but it happened to be from September to November.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, like, oh, I miss bonfires. And everybody would be like, what? Like, what does that even mean? I'm
No,
like,
it's a deep
it's
love.
a thing.
I found actually a journaling treat that was 3 pages on my love for bonfires. I'm writing as a
Valid.
20-something-year-old, like
Valid.
when I stare in the flames, it takes me back to the memories, to all
so
the time
good.
with family, because, you know, you pull the chairs up, you grab the guitar, you even maybe back the trucks up so the beds are facing the fire, and everyone is facing this massive fire, and it's the event of the night. It's a Friday night, it's a Saturday night. And I just grew up with these nights of celebration and friendship, and everyone is facing the fire. And I think that a lot of us view our life that way. Like, we're waiting for that bonfire moment when our life is just, oh, I'm on fire. Like, I finally made it. I finally have I reached that goal. We did it. But I think life actually looks a lot more like my husband's favorite pastime, which is burning incense. I'm a bonfire girl. He likes to burn incense. And since I met him when we were 17, fell in love, he's been burning incense in our house. And a lot of times people come in the door and they don't notice the furniture or the art first. Their first thing is, hey, what is that smell? Fragrance is really powerful, and it's tied to our memories, but it's not something that you see, it's something that you sense. And we are the fragrance of Christ.
It's really good.
We are. And it's not like you having the house or the car or the great job or the influence. Just like you said, it's not having it all put together or going, yeah, I got it. And that proves God is good. It's often you going through a broken season, going through a trying season, being in pain, but there being a fragrance of the faithfulness of God that marks your life, that people go, what is it about her? What is it about him? They're going through the same thing I am, but their responses are different. Their conversations are different. They're not venting. They've got a peace. They're speaking life. And it's because we're not living for the bonfire moments. We realize that as we bring our little to God every day, that we're filled with the strength of God, and our lives are marked with that fragrance of the sacrifice of Jesus.
It's great.
And that's enough.
That's so good. I didn't even know really what incense was until Levi Lesko sent. It was like a Christmas gift, and we burned it in our house. Like, this is amazing.
By the way, I love that little. It was like a little house.
That was the cutest thing ever.
I have it in my kitchen.
Good gift givers.
He is.
But I love that so much, and it's such a beautiful picture. You know, there's that song, and it's like, day and night, night and day, let incense arise. And I feel like a lot of people in the church sing those words and they don't actually know the context of what that means. Can you go into a little bit of the study that you had in the word about incense and the sacrifice and all of that? It's so beautiful.
Well, it's powerful in Scripture. We see pretty much throughout the entire book, throughout the Bible, pictures of incense. Starting in Exodus, when God tells Moses that he wants the priests to bring an incense offering, that as they are setting up, there should be an altar for incense. And every morning and every night. It's really cool because every morning and every night they were lighting the lamps and they were offering the incense. It just goes hand in hand. It's beautiful. And then you see all the way that, in John's vision, he sees the incense representing the worship and the prayers of the saints, going to God. And incense is interesting because incense, it's like these little rocks, at least in those times it was. And it was fragrant, but when you put it on the altar, on the fire, that's when the aroma would be released, and smoke would rise, and Jewish tradition says it would travel for up to a quarter of a mile. Wow. So anyone there to worship, the smell is getting on their clothes. But it's a picture to me of daily surrender to God in the slow burn, because we want the bonfire. God says, no, come lay your little down and watch as your life is transformed. He'll take your car rides. He'll take your morning breakfast for your family. He'll take the boardroom. He'll take the little league game. He'll take all the little moments if we'll offer it to him. and he'll transform it in a way that we could never, ever dream. And that's the kind of life I want to live. I don't always get it right. I miss the moments to give him my little, or I bring it to someone else, or I go, this isn't worth even giving to you. But God says, no, that's exactly what I want.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I love that so much. What a great word. I love how much you worship and you love worship and you value worship. Your whole family does. Some of my favorite, if you have never listened to DC's podcast, you got to go listen when you have your mom on, your dad on.
I love
That's
them.
my favorite thing to do here too, like have my parents, my grandparents, like just the legacy. And y'all have such a worshipful family. I love how, and even at your message at Elevation, you started singing that hymn. And that is actually that was so sweet to me, because there was like different songs I would sing over Honey than I sing for Haven. It's weird because I didn't plan to do that. You think I'd sing the same to both of them, but that hymn has been like Haven's song for me.
Really?
I sing that over her like every single night when she's going to bed. It's like, Jesus, that's just like my go-to. So when I heard you sing that, I was like, it's so beautiful. What does worship look like in the midst of waiting, and how has that been just a powerful tool for you in all the different seasons of waiting? Because I think worship is it's like something that I feel like a lot of times in the church, people feel like, okay, I need to read my Bible, I need to worship. But it's not even just something like you need to do. It's just something that I feel like you get to do. And I have just seen worship unlock so many things in my own life. And I'm just curious to hear in your own life what that's looked like.
It's such a beautiful thing when you realize that you can worship God at any moment of the day, in the middle of the night, that your worship, it changes you. If you're in the slow burn, you feel overwhelmed with life. You're like, when is this season going to end? When am I going to get through this? Instead of wasting your wait, start to worship in your wait. And worship essentially is putting God in his rightful place in your life.
It's great.
Your decision to worship God isn't going to change where God actually is. He's King of Kings. He's Lord of Lords. That's never going to change. But in your life, it changes everything. And so as I begin to worship God in my slow burn, I'm reminded, okay, I'm not in control. My responsibility is not the outcome. My job is obedience, Lord. And I want to please you more than anybody else. And there's so many beautiful offerings of worship. You open up your phone, there's so many. And sometimes in the slow burn, you can't find the words to say. And I need a prompt. I need the help.
That is so true.
I need to put a song on that says, one of my favorites is by Doe, who's also a Louisiana girl and like my sister. And she has this song called When I Pray. And when I turn it on, I can not know where to start with God in a slow burn, but all of a sudden the words start to flow.
So true.
Because someone else's worship is pulling me.
That's so true.
Pulling me into the throne room. And so that's what I love about Sundays, or any day that we gather together in atmospheres of faith, is the worship all around me. Well, it's not just around me, it's getting inside of me. It's changing my perspective on my season.
It does.
You gotta have worship. You gotta have celebration in the slow burn.
It does. I love how it's cool to hear even you say like, I need a prompt, because when people listen to you, it's like, it seems like you always have the words, like everything that comes out of your mouth is so powerful and beautiful. And when you preach, it's so dynamic. And so to hear you say like, sometimes I need a prompt for how to even worship through this, what to pray. And that is so true for me. Like, that's why worship has been so key for me, because it gives me the words to say to God when I don't know what to say or how to say it. This is cool. I have to show you this. I just thought about this because this is so applicable. Last night Honey was having a meltdown. We're having big feelings right now. Big feelings. And we had just, you try to talk and it's just hard and there's so many things. And so I'm just going to sing. So I start singing the blessing over her. And she's so quiet. She's listening. And then she goes, Mommy. And she starts asking me these questions. I started writing them all down. She says, what does Lord mean? So then I'm like, Lord's just another name for God. So I start talking about that. And then she says, what does it mean when you say he makes his face shine on you? And then she says, if he's in me, did I swallow him? And then she says, how does he live in my heart and in heaven? It gets so much better. She goes, how does God and Jesus play together? Do they wear the same outfits? like that white thing with the tie. And then she said, are there a lot of gods or just one God? Well, if there's just one God, how does he live in everyone? Can God fly? What does peace mean?
These are great.
This all last night.
These are great.
When I'm mad, is God mad? We had all these conversations last night, and it started from a temper tantrum that I literally couldn't get her out of. Like we were getting nowhere. Then I'm just like, the Lord bless you and keep you. And she's like, what does Lord mean? What does it mean that he's in me? What does it mean? It was the best night. And then this morning, I'm like riding the high of how good last night was. And she comes out and I make her a waffle, which she wanted a cinnamon roll. So we start the tantrum again. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we're having waffles this morning. I'm thinking, we made so much progress.
Hey, we had cinnamon rolls at my house this morning.
I should have let her come over. And so then I turn on, this morning I didn't have the words. I let Carrie sing it. I turn on the blessing. Maybe this will work again. Crank it up. Stops crying. Doesn't ask me anything else about it. In the best mood. Music. And I just got to watch like what worship even did in my 4-year-old. Like Amazing. It took her from a temper tantrum to actually like really introspective questions that led her to having like a lot of joy and peace. Like her last question, like, what does peace mean? And I was like, it means that you don't have any fear. And peace is what you feel in the presence of God. And then when we started talking about how big God is, she's like, so is he bigger than my fear? And I said, honey, let me give you a hint. He made the sky. He's bigger than any fear. And like it led her to literally going to sleep. And this morning it worked her through her little disappointment that it wasn't a cinnamon roll and it was a waffle. And it's like, it was just really cool to see that on display. So as you're speaking all this, I'm like, man, that is so true. And I experienced it in my life, but I just watched that happen in my 4-year-old. It is amazing.
It's amazing because they're tiny humans, but they don't have tiny spirits.
True.
They're eternal beings.
That's so true.
They sense the presence of God, and it speaks peace to them. They may not even be able to articulate it, but even now you're creating like a hunger in her for the presence of God.
And one question led to the next question, led to the next question, which is kind of what I want to end on, because a lot of times in this podcast you brought up like the wrestle with God is so worth it.
Yes.
To people who grew up in church, maybe they understand the concept of like wrestling with God. And maybe some people are like, what does that mean? Like they've never wrestled something out with God. How do you wrestle with God through your life?
The wrestle for me just represents my experience not matching my understanding. The point of us walking through this life is not that we have all the answers. If you think that to follow Jesus means that you just understand everything and you know all the answers and you always behave the right way, you're going to become disillusioned, because not until we see him face to face will we fully understand and know. And so that requires trust. And trust, it's not always easy. So when I say the wrestle, it's, God, I don't understand why I'm in this situation. Lord, I don't understand why this is happening. God, I don't understand why you're asking me to do this. Lord, I don't understand why my heart got broken, why this person betrayed me, why my family's walking through this. It's that wrestle between our situation, our circumstance, and the lack of our understanding. And we need God.
That's great.
And oftentimes what I've come to realize is in that wrestle of the weight, that it's not that I just see my situation clearer, but it is that I discover a deeper understanding of his faithfulness.
That's great.
That he will reveal his nature and his character through you as you wrestle. Okay, what does practical wrestling look like? Worship, being in your word, bringing your questions to his presence through prayer, just continuing to stick close to him. If you and I are wrestling, we're close. We're not letting go of each other, right? We're staying close. So often you can abandon the wrestle for a shortcut that actually leads to more brokenness in the end.
Ooh, girl,
so often you can leave God's will and his plan to go try to find something that seems less painful in the moment, but is actually going to lead a place that you never wanted to go. So staying close to God, even when I don't understand it, and then receiving a deeper revelation. Okay, Lord, you really haven't looked away from me. You really are with me in the slow burn. And you truly are working in ways that I cannot see. You are at work and I trust you.
That is so good. DC, you are so incredible. Every time I'm around you, I'm reminded of how thankful I am for you. Truly, like, I am so thankful for you having the ministry that you have and the platform that you have, that everybody gets to learn from you and learn from your wisdom and your messages and your words. And I am so grateful on a friend note that I get to learn from you. You're like the person that's like years ahead of me, a couple more kids ahead of me that I look at and I'm like, how did they do it? How are they doing it?
I adore you.
But like, you are such a good sister and a friend to those afar and up close. And thank you for writing this book. Again, if you haven't already gone on, I guess you can buy anywhere books are sold and gotten slow burn, then I don't know really what you're doing. But right now, seriously, go get this book. It's going to bless you so much. What we talked about here in the past hour is a glimpse of just the gold that's in this book and in this word that she spent years writing in the wrestle and kind of on the other side of the miracles too. So go get slow burn. DC, thank you for being here. It's been just a huge blessing for me.
Thank you. I love you. And I just want to say that I'm so grateful for your voice. I'm so grateful for your boldness and your trust in God. It's changing a generation, and I'm celebrating and cheering you on every step, and this baby is blessed.
This baby has literally been kicking the whole time you've been talking. I was like, can they see this right now?
We're in this together.
I know, we're in this together.
But I love you, friend.
Oh, you're so sweet.